All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back for another episode. We have another awesome guest with us. We have Austin Toloza in the house. He is the founder of Hyperstrength and Conditioning in San Jose. He's the host of the Nerd Out and Workout podcast, and he is actually getting into golf. So we could talk a little bit about that as well. So, Austin, welcome to the
Yeah,
show.
good to be here. Thank you for having me, man.
Very happy to have you. Very happy to have you. Now, I got to say, before we start on anything fitness related, you had the coolest 1-year-old birthday I've ever seen.
Oh, dude, I still I didn't drink, but I feel like I've had a hangover because it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, no
It
problem. I
was,
was literally at my buddy's kid's first birthday over the weekend, and I went to his. It was fun, and I saw yours, and you cranked it up to another level. I was like, "This is awesome."
well, for those of you, the audience, there was a Comic-Con themed birthday party. And I've been going to Comic Con for a while. Like I'd always go every year until my son was born. Actually, the week of Comic Con, I think that week or the week just around the Comic Con time. So we're not going back for a while, and if you're already been going to Comic Con, it's easier to get the tickets. But now that if you don't go one year, if you skip a year, you're back to general admission, and you got to try to figure your way. Long story short, we're not going to Comic Con for a while, so I decided why don't we make this
Make
this
your own.
first year at Comic Con, make our own Comic Con. So we did the step and repeat. We did the big banners. We got a boba bar. We had it started with shout out to Roberto Orozco Design. So he helped me design a lot of shirts, like Gundam Barbell, GU Force Gym Bros. He was really good at having my creative visions come to life. And I asked him, like, hey man, can you do me a favor? And I said, can you make a Comic Con logo for my son's birthday? Like, if you don't have time, that's all good. And then and he's like, dude, hell yeah, I'll do it for you. And he did, he cranked it out pretty fast.
Mhm.
And the way he cranked it out with we ended up with it looked like a Dragon Ball Z type version of my son. And I'm like, oh my God, I fucking love it. So it looked like the general Comic Con icon, but instead of the eye, it was my son drawn as like a Dragon Ball Z character, but just his face smiling, and it said Austin Jr.'s first birthday in San Jose instead of San Diego. So after I got that graphic, I was like, well, I gotta get the step and repeat. So I got the step and repeat, and then I was like, well, if I'm gonna get the step and repeat, I might as well get that big banner. Because if you go to Comic Con, they always have those big banners at the top of the convention center. I'm like, okay, I'll get one big banner we can put on the top. Because we live in an apartment complex and we use the hall for the party. And then from there, my wife got all creative, made Junior Alley instead of Artist Alley's Junior Alley. And then I was like, well, we got to have some type of food function, And so we decided to do a full service boba bar. And
Nice.
we're Filipinos, so we went hard on the food, like the lechon, the fried rice, all the good Filipino food and Chinese food you can think of. We brought it because people liked it, and yeah, we went pretty hard.
It looked like you did in all the right ways.
Like her mom got giveaways for all these every kid got a box of Marvel character, like a Marvel giveaway of she got these keychains, magnets, tattoos, all these things that you don't think kids would like, but all the kids loved it because they had candy in there, had
Oh,
push pops, had
those temporary
cookies.
tattoos, that's like gold.
No, I didn't know. They were all about it. It was so funny. But yeah, it was, we invited there was 100 people that came out, and entertaining a party of that size, I forgot how it was because we haven't had a celebration like that in a while. And and uh and it was really good. And the reason also to kind of put some context behind that is we went hard on that first birthday because we lost our first pregnancy. And it was she was a daughter. We named her Alani. We lost our first pregnancy and everything sucked. It was a rough few years. And I remember um just a few months after we suffered that loss, and kind of we suffered it in May, and then Comic Con came over, and then I was like, I don't want to go anywhere. But my friend was like, you want to come with us? And I already got tickets, but we were just gonna give them away. But then, my good friend, he's now Junior's godfather. He convinced me to go with him and another buddy of ours, and it was just us three. And my wife was like, "Yeah, just go. You got to do your thing." And that was like the last time I went to Comic Con. But it was just one of those things where like I needed to just do something different, and and it kind of brought me back to like, okay, there's more. There's life's gonna keep going, but I just gotta like recover and keep going and doing all that. And I don't know what it is, but it's just, I guess, just being with friends and loved ones, just trying to care for you, especially during a dark time. That's what really brought it back to me, and that got me kind of level headed, getting kind of back at it. And my wife appreciated that too, and so yeah, it was kind of like a full circle thing. It was pretty fun. So
Yeah, you
that's
put your like positive stamp on it, and you're like, we're taking
yeah,
Comic Con
yeah.
back.
But yeah, it was great. It was fun. My friends were mad at me because they're like, "Dude, why the fuck are you raising the bar on this?" I'm like, sorry, I just went hard, man. Like, I
Yeah,
really went hard
you're
on
that
this.
asshole friend in the group that makes everybody look bad. Like shit,
I'm
we gotta
sorry.
help you now.
I went hard. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ. But yeah,
That's what I feel like some of my friends are in the process of doing, like one upping each other. Like, oh, we did this, we're gonna do that, and I'm just
I
like,
wasn't
I'm not
trying
playing
to
that
one
game.
up. I wasn't trying to one up. I really just got really when I get into an idea, I get stuck on it, and then I want to
Yeah,
do it. And then when I execute it, I want to go beyond it. I want to be like this is gonna be it. I mean, trust me, there have been parties out there that are insane. So yeah, but I do appreciate like yeah everything we did. I'm literally just still recovering from it because it was a lot.
yeah, it sounds like it. Now, I appreciate you telling us the whole story and everything that
Yeah,
went along with it. Now, I know a lot of people, like when they struggle with their strength training in particular,
yeah.
and their nutrition, something like that easily derails everybody, like most people, or
Oh
anything
yeah.
really where something traumatic happens and it's like you just fall right off. For you, how did that play a role in like getting back to being where, like back to your normal self, where it's like, okay, I'm like able to transition these feelings into the weight room or into taking care of myself?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, because when you first find out you're going to be a parent for the very first time, it's a very life-changing thing. Uh and you start shifting your priorities, right? You're not training for yourself anymore, you're training for something bigger. You're training to be around more, to be healthier for this new kid that's coming in. And then when we suffered the loss, it went to shit. I was like, fuck this. I don't want to do anything. I'm sorry. Can we cuss? I'm sorry.
Sorry, there's a really fucking strict rule, no cursing on this podcast.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Fuck. Well, fuck me. All right. But it was, I mean, yeah, everything went to the wayside, but um, people have to go through that. And it's really, what was it? Dude, since the pandemic, I've actually been going to therapy to really unpack a lot of stuff that I've been going through. I'm like an overachiever to fault. Like I just try to do everything at once. So allowing myself to grieve is one of the biggest things that helped. And what helped me kind of get back in action was allowing myself to breathe, to cry, to feel sad, to feel those feelings, especially for men, right? Like we don't
We're
want to
not
feel
allowed to feel.
feelings.
We're not allowed to
We are
show
too
emotion.
strong. You're raising a soft generation, but it's those very guys who are like the softest inside, and it's hilarious.
Always, always.
And they don't want to say it, and then all of a sudden they just cry and know. But like that's so after that, like when I went to Comic Con, it was outside of my typical day to day life, so it was like a pattern break. That's what they call it. Like you break a pattern, right? It's a pattern break, and then I'm like, there's so much happening at Comic Con that you can't help but be in the moment. And
Hmm.
we got lucky. We got like a hotel that was like right next to the convention, which was really rare. We stayed at the Omni, so you just go downstairs and go right
Oh, you
outside.
got
You
a good
see more,
spot.
dude.
Omnis are pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
bro. Like there was like it's you're at the place where like you see like cameramen, you see
Yeah.
like celebrities and like hosts of shows like walking around the lobby, and you're like, oh shit, should I be here? And it's like you're in it, and it was really fun, and it made you kind of be in the moment, and that kind of snapped me back into like, okay, all right, like I just got to keep going, and and time apart from my wife because she was going through it. she did her thing with her, with her family too. And then we came back together. It was just kind of taking it one step at a time, going back at it. So after that pattern break, and it could be whatever, right? But after that pattern break, it kind of allowed you to kind of have a nice little reset and then take it one step at a time. And to be quite frank, I haven't really gotten back on the horse of working out and training myself until maybe like, I think maybe 6 months after Junior was born, because we were pregnant. Oh yeah, when Giselle was pregnant again, um, we were very paranoid about it, but it was good. And to your point of me joining, that was when I started ramping up the golf, because I was like, I won't be able to have all this time. As the closer we got to the due date, I'm like, I was golfing like 18 rounds, like 3, 4 days in a row, hitting on my friends who are like, they work remotely. And I'm like, hey, you down? I got a tee time, brother. Let's go. And our wives were getting hella pissed at us because
You got to play that balance, man.
I
That's
was
half
like,
of golf.
oh, it's a work meeting. It's like we're playing 18 hole at 9 a.m. and on a Tuesday. And then we're doing it again on a Wednesday. It's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, that's pretty much what went back at it. And then I think after we had our newborn, we start slowly getting back at it. And yeah, when you work out for a higher purpose, like for a family, you want to live longer. It's like further than beyond yourself. It's a very it's more impactful, and I feel like you're just kind of more locked in. That's how I personally feel about it. I don't know how anyone else is, but especially when you get to your 30s and 40s, you take fitness more in a different mindset as opposed to when you're in your 20s, right? Like, I just want to outlift everyone within 100-foot vicinity of me because I am the best. Like that in itself is just hilarious to be in that mindset. But we all have to go through it as coaches. And then when you go into your 30s and 40s, you're a little bit more mature about it. You're like, I don't really need to bench 225 right now. I'm good with
Yeah.
135, nice, easy. I just need
It's funny when you're online and you can tell exactly where somebody is in their coaching journey. It's like how long they've
oh,
been training, and you're just like, yep, that was me
oh,
about 5 years ago.
yeah. It's like you smile and you're just like, okay, keep doing
Yep.
you, kiddo.
Yep. It's like, keep at it, champ. You'll be happy you have this
Yeah,
muscle, but you're going to hate all those pains. We'll see you on
yeah.
the other side.
I'll see how, dude. I have, yeah, yeah. I have a little cousin he's like so into the powerlifting scene. Like he started this journey of getting stronger. He used to be a skinny kid,
Mhm.
and his mindset's like, I'm gonna get stronger. Like, oh, Uncle Austin, what's your highest squat max? And I'm like, what do you, why? And he goes, I'm gonna out squat you. And I'm like, okay. So I get maxes, and my brother is stronger than me. He gave him his maxes, and his whole goal as a 20-year-old was to beat me and Uncle Josh's squat, bench, and deadlift maxes so he can be the strongest one in the family. And I'm like, go, do it, go.
But
Oh,
it's
by the way,
wild
here's
at that age, that's all the motivation you need. Where you're like, listen, I'm going to be the strongest dude, or I'm going to get in the best shape, and that's enough. But when you get older, it's
yeah,
like that, it doesn't do the job.
dude. And he's already asking me like, hey, I follow, I noticed you do a lot of mobility stuff, and I started trying them, and it actually helps. And I'm like, your hips tight? he goes, he goes, oh, how did you know? And I'm like, just a guess. Like, can you sit crisscross applesauce? And he goes, it hurts. And I'm like, yeah, does it hurt right here? And he goes, how'd you know? And I'm like, yeah.
Yep. Or I love the shoulders when it's like, somebody's been doing barbell back squat and bench
Bro.
pressing like crazy, and you're just like, so how are those shoulders feeling? And it's like they're doing one of these every 5 minutes.
I can't throw like I used to. It's like, really? Tell me about it.
Shocker.
Really? Your shoulders? I don't know what
Yeah.
it is.
Hey, we learn. We learn eventually. It's
Mm-hmm.
a game of, okay, I'm gonna go balls to the wall. Ow, this hurts. How do I fix that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when it
But
comes
yeah.
to like the whole how we were talking about like how the transition of everything, it's almost like you took I like what I try and preach to clients who do have kids, where it's like they could be a big reason not to go to the gym and not to be healthy, because it's like they come with a laundry list of things of taking care of somebody else. But
Mm-hmm.
when you reframe it like you did, where it's like, I got to be that much better for my kids. I got to be this like next level. Like, what were some ways that you started back up, like from that point where you're like, all right, now I got to get back into this?
That's a good one. You start with what you like doing first, you
Hmm.
know? One of the first things I did was I genuinely love lifting, you know.
Yeah.
So I went back into the gym and I took a workout I used to do in my 20s and I dialed it down from a 10 to like a 5. And I said, you know, I like these movements. I know these moves by heart. You start with something you like, you enjoy, and you're familiar with. It could be anything that you're familiar with. It doesn't have to be in the gym. It could be golfing, it could be running, it could be jogging, it could be biking, it could be just hiking, it could
Just
be
some
playing
movement, something.
movement. And you know, motion creates emotion. I love saying that. I got that from uh Paul Reddy, but it was one of those mastermind groups way back in the day. But he would always be talking about motion creates emotion. I remember that because it's like when you're like lazy as shit and you're like, I don't want to do anything, just move. Go walk somewhere. Go walk around like a park or walk to get coffee or something, or just go outside because we're humans are meant to move, right? We're bipedal
Yep.
animals. And when you start walking, you start thinking, you know, you like, and then like, don't walk and just be on your phone. Come on now, like walk and be aware of your surroundings because you'll just start noticing things like, oh, there's birds, there's a tree, oh, there's cars driving there. And then you'll just start going into these thought process of like, oh, that's a cool car. I wonder how much that car costs. Oh, that's an old car. Oh, I wonder why. Like you just start thinking about things that you're doing,
And you
and
get
it
out of
gets
your head.
more. You get out of your head, and before you know it, you just walk the mile, just thinking, and, you know, and I, you know, playing a basketball game with like strangers or with friends, you know, playing a pickup game of flag football or touch football or playing with your kids, like hide and seek, tag. That's, I mean, I'm playing hide and seek with my 1 year old, just to be like, oh, peekaboo, or you know, can you find me? And I'm getting tired because like he's like trying to tag me, I'm trying to run away from him, and he's fast, and I'm like, dude, how fast can you be, man? But you know, you start with what you're familiar with, and you go from there. And the biggest thing is just staying consistent. So you don't. A lot of people say you have to go 5 to 7 days a week or 5 to 6 days a week, which is yes, on a perfect
Yep.
world, you can have time for 5 to 6 days a week, but
Yep.
just do going for 2 times a week and just building consistency. That's better because you're more likely to stick with that through a duration of like 52 weeks, right? So
Yep.
that's 104 times you're working out
Yeah. Because I
for
mean,
a
if you
year.
went golfing for like 18 rounds a couple of times a week for an entire year, you're probably going to
Dude,
get better results and feel better than powerlifting like crazy for just 1 week out of the year.
yeah. Oh yeah, and your golf will go up. I mean,
Yeah.
that's in theory. Uh
In theory.
but in theory,
I
but
like how you
like
toss that in there because I'm like, yeah, that's the key.
gas sticking, golfing, 104 times a year. Um, but doing anything 104 times a year, like to your point, instead of like going hard for 7 days of the week and then you injure yourself, or you just mentally burnt out and then you just don't do anything for 6 months, and then you do it again for another week, try to get back at it, and then you stop again. That's like 14 days versus 104 workout. Like it's just at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's just all about longevity, consistency.
Just finding a way to stack them up.
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And when it comes to like the training side of things, when it comes to that place of like, okay, I'm back into this habit and I'm moving, like a lot of people do eventually find themselves being like, all right, I'm consistent. Now, how do I level up? Instead of that whole perfection mindset of like, I got to do everything the right way from day one.
Oh yeah. So you're asking like how do you get to that next level after being consistent?
Yeah, I guess what are some good steps? I was more making a statement and I'm like, this is going to turn into a question at some point. I know it, but it didn't quite get there. But I guess the question behind that is like what when you have your Gen Pop people in your gym, like what are some things you like to do that get people from that place of, okay, I did a few walks and I feel really good and I want to take it to the gym now and really get some good results. Like what are some things you guys start with?
So when you want to start varying your activity level to like another level, then that's when you're starting to mess with the detail of the programming, right? But I would suggest, if something's getting really easy, you just got to find ways to make it harder. That's just how it is. Like we're made to. I mean, back to the principle of, the said principle, specific adaptation to impose demands. Every program is based on that. Whatever you're going to challenge your body with, it's going to have to adapt. If it gets used to it, you're going to get bored because it feels like nothing. So finding fun ways to make it hard for you is one of the best things that you can do. Like, let's say you're used to walking a mile, well then why don't you try to jog a mile, or why don't we try to walk 2 miles, or finding ways to make it interesting as well. You can increase the frequency of your workouts, you can increase the
Hmm.
intensity, you can shorten the rest periods between each bout of exercise, or you can opt for something more challenging. Instead of half court basketball, now let's try to get a game of full court basketball. Like
Oh, I'm in my 30s, man. That makes me tired just thinking about going full court.
I understand the back on
Yeah.
defense.
No, I'll be like Kevin James in Grown Ups, where it's like fake an injury. Yeah, yeah,
But you know what I mean? Like, like playing flag football, like instead
yeah,
of half field, go full field, see how that feels. But doing stuff like that will definitely kind of help you. But when you get to that stage of like, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to take it to the next level, then you can start getting a little bit more detailed in programming, more days, less rest periods, more intensity, more load, different activities. That's where I would start, or that's what I would kind of start
yeah,
evolving the training, especially for
yeah.
clients who want to get to that next level.
Because I like the direction you took that in, where it's like try and do something harder, because it's like then you get into the mindset aspect of I can do hard things and proving it to yourself over and over and over again. And when it comes to the whole mental side of the journey, I know at least on social media, this is like a shitstorm, like zero empathy for people that are in the beginning of their journey and things like that. And I know you've put out some really good videos on this stuff. Like, what's your stance when it comes to the whole like how you like how you talk to yourself along the journey, how professionals should talk to clients? Like, what are some guiding principles that you go by?
Oh man, that's a great question. Like talking to clients on their negative self-talk and how to kind
Yeah,
of get them out of their headspace.
yeah,
I could say just a lot of connecting. That's so broad. But when we start with a client, it's personal training, right? You have to connect. You have to make a connection. I don't give two shits what the peer-reviewed journal said about training a bicep curl versus a fucking leg extension. I want you to connect with your client. This is what it like. This is like me preaching, like coaching my coaches up, because what we do in personal training, right? Like people pay us $65 to $150 a session. So what are they getting out of that? All right. How are you coaching them up? And these people are in the headspace of I'm not good enough. I need help. I need more confidence. I need more energy because I don't feel comfortable in my own body. And they won't say it to me, but along the lines of I don't like what I see in the mirror. This is like some deep shit, like borderline therapy shit, right? But
yeah,
you're there as a coach, and you need to be able to have this depth of empathy of being like, look, I probably will never understand what's going on in your head, but I'm gonna do my best to meet you halfway or to meet you where you're at. You have to meet clients where they're at. And once you show that you're meeting them where they're at and you're caring, then they're more willing to listen to your guidance.
yeah. It's
You
that
hope
whole
to God
that old adage of they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
they don't give two shits about how much you know. And I know social media is all about, not all social media. I just feel like the coaches who are always about the studies, evidence, I'm all about evidence based. I get it. I went to college. I hate that shit. Like
Yeah.
doing like peer
Any
review.
coach worth their salt gives a shit, but it's a difference in how you present it.
Exactly. Like, you don't understand. I spent 4 years, or actually with grad work included, like I spent years looking for these peer-reviewed articles just to prove what my essay was talking about when it came to exercise phase. I understand that. I don't want to do it all the time. Like I know enough where it's like, look, this will work.
Dude, talk
Trust me,
about
this will work.
burnout. Talk about
it
burnout. We're going
was
to do everything, and I'm going to have a peer-reviewed study to back up every single thing I'm about to tell you on hand.
so when I see these coaches on social media talking about peer-reviewed studies and labeling the fucking number, I again, when if you went to college and that was a requirement to do this on every damn paper. Don't ever quote APA format again. I hate that shit. But it's like we get it, right? But it just tells me that they're just trying to project. And this is just me as an old coach, all right? Well, I'm a self-proclaimed old coach, but it just shows me that you care about how you're perceived by people as opposed to trying to connect with them. Because there's other coaches out there who are like, look, I'm going to give you some easy ass ways to eat healthy. And it's going to be very practical shit. And I love that stuff because it's like you're talking to them as if like, hey man, I'm not going to talk about how this angle and this angle are very different versus, it's going to be like, look, you hate eating this, you want to change your body, here's how you can start. Here's very easy steps of how to do it. Because at the end of the day, that's where it's all about. It's meeting them halfway and showing them very usable things right away that they can start doing so they can get the results that they paid for, whether they paid for it through time, through money, through emotional investment in you as a coach. Like that's where it's all about. And it's a lot of young trainers who, and for me, it's like, I don't know if I'm getting off topic, but I do see a lot of coaches now, a lot of trainers, a lot of young trainers, they're trying to do the online thing first. Like, oh, look at my online thing. Download my free program, my online mobility program, and download this. And I do online. But they've never coached a single human being in person. So the coaching cues are out of whack because there's going to be a question from a client who's going like, hey, my knee hurts when I squat. What could it be? And the fucking genius will be like, oh, well, are you going below 90 degrees? Or are you, it's like, no, bitch. If you taught someone in person many times and you got reps in person, you would have understood like, okay, maybe X, Y, and Z happened, or maybe the upper body shifted. There's so many things that you can ask them through your own experience training someone in person, many people in person, that you can identify their exact situation through experience. But because you didn't get that experience, now you're just basing it off other YouTube videos or other Instagram, like, oh, maybe their heels were not, or maybe their heels were elevated too much, maybe their knees were going in, but you don't know. So that's why it's like, I'm like venting, but like, that's
No,
why
it's a good point to make because I know that like obviously most of the people listening right now are not trainers, but it really helps with kind of vetting who you're going to get your information from because when you follow accounts like this, you feel like you're almost like in that perfection mindset of if I don't do everything to the T with the right angles, I'm not going to get any results. When at the end of the
dude,
day, if
oh
we're
my
being
God.
honest, one of the biggest influences in the entire fitness space, one person that probably helped the most people get in incredible shape and feel more fit, RIP Richard Simmons.
I
Like,
was gonna say yes,
did that guy have an
yes.
exercise science degree? No, he just gave more shits than anybody when he had somebody in front of him.
That guy cared. He was a top personal trainer, man. He cared. A lot of
Yep.
people like to make fun of it. I mean, I get it, the whole character thing, but like he truly cared. He truly cared of connecting with people, meeting them where they're at, giving hope to people who were sitting on their couch thinking everything was over and my self value was worthless. And he was the one on that television going, "You could do it. You can do it." And they're looking at this guy. What the fuck is this guy talking about? He's funny. Okay, maybe I'll try. Okay, maybe I'll do a little something. I like that joke. Okay. And he just kept showing up. And he kept showing up for them. He kept showing up for them. And so for the listeners, I know I did this little rant about like online coaches and all that, but like do your due diligence. You deserve. And I'm kind of one of the last people to say you deserve things because I'm kind of a hard ass when it comes to my coaches when I say you don't deserve shit. You got to earn everything. And that just comes from a place of like, it takes a lot in the fitness industry to earn every little thing as a coach.
Yeah.
But
And with
as a
the
client,
entitlement and stuff, you do
yeah.
need to put that out there and be like, no, you didn't deserve shit. You earned it, and that's that.
I mean, like, because they could twist like, well, we deserve water. It's like, yeah, I know that. That's not what I'm saying. But like, as a client, and you're looking for guidance, right? Whether it be an online coach or an in-person coach or just like a guide, clients deserve a professional to care for it. Like to really care for them. And you'll know right away if someone truly cares for you or you're just another cog in their
Yeah.
funnel.
It's like when you have a group of friends, you know that friend that actually takes the time to listen to you and hear you out and empathize. And then there's that other friend that just waits to talk. You're like,
No,
you
yes,
can tell who
yes.
these people are.
I'm waiting for my turn to talk. I'm not listening to you.
Yep,
And it's like, dude, I just
exactly.
told you X, Y, and Z. And they're just talking about their plan to go to Jamaica. And it's like, okay.
Yep. And I think one of the things I saw on your feed that like caught me the most is like I know you talked about like Aaron Kubal, who I was like, this guy is saying the same words that I feel about this guy, where it's like he puts out so much good stuff 99% of the time. Love what he says. But when it comes to the practical side of it, of like, let's put this to practice, sometimes studies don't really match what we think is going to happen in the gym. Sometimes you do all the right things and it doesn't work. And then you're like, well, I've heard this works for this other coach and it doesn't really have a lot of evidence backing it up, but let's give it a try. And then the client feels like $1,000,000.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about that one post where I'm like, I agree to disagree type of thing?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah, I see it. So I get it. Like, I agree with like 99% of what that guy says.
Yeah.
And he's good. Like, I'm assuming just from an outside looking at something happened in his chiropractic journey where it's like, screw this. I'm gonna make
Well,
sure everyone's
I,
like
I
not
know,
fooled
yeah, I know
by
some good
those.
chiros that get
Yeah,
out of school and they're like, wow, that was a bullshit degree. All right, now I got to
yeah,
relearn all this stuff.
yeah. It's like I gotta prevent people from like like seeing these smoke and mirror shit. It's like getting out of a
Yeah.
pyramid scheme, right? It's like I
Oh my
that's
God.
kind of like
It can
yeah,
go
dude.
bad
Like
real fast.
right. So you're trying to prevent people. Long story short, yeah,
Yeah.
it's I remember growing up, you look up to these coaches like Joe DeFranco, right? Joe DeFranco is actually one of the first coaches I was looking up to. I still keep in contact with that
Yeah.
guy.
He's from
Um,
Jersey. So, I mean, naturally.
DeFranco. You know DeFranco. He's a no nonsense. And I remember one of his very first because he blew up on YouTube way back when, right? And I remember
Oh,
one of his
man.
first videos. He was talking about the prowler, right? He was talking about how he made the athletes do the prowler, and one of the athletes were like, uh, what's the science behind the prowler and this, that, and the other? And he should have was like, it fucking works. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
like
like I
I
timed you last week and then we threw these
time
in
you.
and I timed you this week and you're faster. That's the proof.
Yeah. And he goes, I don't know the science behind it. It just works. And I use it. And I'm like, that's like the first like time I was like, this guy gets it. I like this guy. Like, I think I like this. Like me as a young coach, I'm like, I get it. I think I get it. Like it just works. And
Yep.
now like going and growing and seeing other things out there, and it's like, again, I love the evidence based stuff. Everything you have to do has to be rooted in science, right? You can't be
Yeah.
making people do
That's where you
barbell jumping
start.
jacks.
That's where you
Yeah, that's
start
your
is in
start.
the evidence based and then you evolve and use anecdote and use like
Yes.
educated guesses, not just throwing shit at the wind.
Yeah, because fitness is always changing. Fitness is always changing, and yeah. So when how do you say? I always say Krubal, Alan Krubal.
I don't really know how to say his name. I just
But
see
but
it and
yeah,
I'm like, I know who this guy is.
yeah. Like yeah, he's done a great job with his branding and stuff. So like yeah, when I saw that, and it's like chip raises, or do they really work? And I kind of knew in the back of my head, I'm like, I think this guy's gonna make a video about something like this because it's too
Yeah.
popular. It's too popular to not make a video of it.
Yeah.
But it was just yeah, it's like one of those things where like it my client who couldn't walk up the step said this helps her a lot. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say no to that. I'm not
Well,
gonna be like, oh, actually.
the thing that gets
No, go ahead.
discounted by so many of these evidence-based people is the fact that they don't really look at the sample size and understand that it's usually trained people. And when you do these things that are on untrained populations, like people just coming off the couch, a lot of this random stuff works because it's more activity than they've gotten in the past like 5 years.
Oh yeah, and then a majority of the studies, like those strength studies, are on the isokinetic leg extension machine. Like
Yeah, or
that's
bicep curls.
or the bicep curl or the bike. Like
Yeah.
we haven't really studied other planes of motion and other people because like there's people who could challenge like what type of people did you use, right? Like you said, like these are young athletic males. Well, what about
There are
out
all
of
these
shape
guys in the
males?
master's program that are trying to get hours. Like it's not
Trying to get
like
hours, trying to get
yeah,
money.
yeah. Trying to get that get no, not money, gift cards. Gift
Oh,
cards.
gift cards. That's right, gift cards. How dare
They
I say
can't give
money?
you money. They
They give
can
you
give you
money.
gift cards.
But yeah, no, I get that. That was yeah, that's it's really funny because I mean, dude, you go to I mean, we took a class on that, right? Like how to dissect studies, and I hated that class, but it just showed you like sample sizing, a sample size of 12 versus a sample size of 100,000. It's like what's going to
Yep.
be more reliable? And I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of
Yeah.
that.
Because I don't even have a formal education in this stuff. I'm a criminology major, but like
Oh,
yeah, interesting stuff. But I I now I am dating a doctor and she's like looking at some of the stuff I'm looking at, like research reviews, and she's like, "So what's the sample size on that?" I'm like,
yeah.
14, and she's like, "And you're reading it?"
No, really, doctors like yeah, people who've been to med school through the gamut, they're quick to not waste time on like what's the sample size? What was the method of X, Y, and Z? You know, what was the control group? What was this? And if it was like if they sniffed anything that was out of place, like I'm not reading that study.
Yeah.
Like, what's the
So
next?
quick to be like, "All right."
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was a good study. Like, and
It's like this is
14
all
people.
it's like we've got these scraps in our hands in nutrition and fitness, and we're like, this is
Yeah,
all I got. This is it.
I'm just trying to get people strong. They're like, well, I'm trying to save a man with a heart surgery, so you know, I need more stuff. It's
Yeah,
like,
I'd rather them be hardcore on that stuff. We're
yeah,
just having
yeah,
fun over here.
yeah. So I just want to get a bigger bicep. But yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy the field we're in and how hardcore people go on this stuff. And it's like you realize the quality of our evidence is like nowhere near other fields. So
Oh,
there's a
dude.
lot of room for interpretation and art of coaching.
Oh, in the industry, I feel like the industry's still young. Like it's still young, and I don't know where I heard this, but you know how like the whole everyone, you know, there was always there everyone's quick to promote their fat loss supplement, weight lose weight fast, and then ever since Ozempic came out, that's it, right? Ozempic is the one that's going to make you lose weight or whatever, right? So now instead of I don't know if you've been noticing it, I think someone did like a piece on this. Like they did a whole blog post on this where they talked about how they're noticing more anti-aging
Hmm.
schemes now instead of the fat loss schemes because you can't really do the fat loss schemes anymore. You got Ozempic, but no one has a cure for anti-aging. So people are like, I mean, you can exercise, and, you know, obviously the common sense stuff, but people are now going like anti-aging stuff. Like, well, look at this. It's gonna save years of your like. What's it collagen now? It's like the latest thing.
Yeah,
Collagen
it
out of
was
fucking nowhere.
collagen definitely is one of them, but what cracks me up is that the people promoting this stuff, you can tell they are chock full of Botox. And it's like, you don't look young because you're taking these
Bro,
supplements.
we're like, well,
Yeah,
uh,
their upper half of their face doesn't move, and you're like, tell me more.
like, can you smile? Like, I don't smile. It makes wrinkles. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yep,
I
yep.
don't smile. You get crow's feet. It's like, okay, what are
Yeah,
you
no, there's
supposed to do?
a lot of those scams going around. We're definitely not at a shortage for that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's that. But
Yeah. Yeah. Nah, I mean, it's enough to do an entire other podcast episode on that stuff.
oh gosh, yeah, dude.
Now, I gotta ask, when I wanted to bring it back to the involving kids in the process of getting fit and getting healthy and all that stuff. And I saw
Hmm.
another, like I always do the deep dive on the feed, and you had a really good one
Oh,
about your doing the safety squats, like so that way you could like lift your kid up in the air and do that. Are there any
oh
like
my
kid specific
gosh,
exercises that you're like, this really carried over?
dude. You know what it is? It's you got to do carries, man. Like like farmer carries, like strongman. I would say strongman movements, but for endurance.
Mhm.
Uh, I would say they translate well. I mean, overall body strength, overall endurance helps, overall strength helps. But man, I've been noticing just carrying my kid on one arm, like my biceps cramping. And I'm like, oh fuck, do I need to like do I need to like work on my bicep endurance? Like, but like you're doing this, right? So this is always like you're tight here. You're like tight. So it's like
Yep.
shit. So, you know,
So
you're
some
you're trying
Xerxer carries would go a long way. Sandbag
Zergers,
carry.
Zerks and sandbags help a lot. We also got to do the opposite, right? So just like like opening up your chest and just doing like what was it? Like weighted flies, but just letting it go down and going, oh, you're not even
Oh,
doing it for the exercise. You just need
I,
someone to stretch out your chest because it's like I'm so forward. Yeah,
that
that stuff.
reminded me of I did one of Don Saladino's challenges a while ago, and he had one for the pec fly where it was like you basically count down real slow and do it
Uh,
for like 30 seconds, like back and forth. And I'm like,
oh,
that
dude.
would be plenty to fire me up. Oh, it
It's just
hurt.
yeah, dude. But yeah, to translating with kids is a lot of hinging too. I'll actually a crap ton of hinging because you're always bending over. Like doing even the rounded back bending over type of stuff like that. Like what was it? Like the Jefferson curls.
Jefferson curls,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, unless you have a herniated disc, but like if you're just
Yeah.
doing it to like, because you're always bending over the crib or over something, or they always want you to carry them, so you have no choice but to you're picking them up. That actually helps a ton. So a lot of
Yeah.
carrying and a lot of bending over will help a lot.
I think it just comes down to also people starting in the right place because I know that there's a lot of guys that can deadlift the house and then they try a Jefferson curl and they're like, "Oh, it wrecked my back," and it's like, "Well, why'd you just jump right in? Like,
Oh
you
yeah, no,
can't do it
everything's
with."
body weight. Everything's body
Yeah.
weight first, and then
Yep.
you got to build up from there, right? But yeah, so those those were the ones that I would definitely say would kind of carry over for child like rearing, watching your kid. But the
I
endurance has to
appreciate the
be up
pun there. I appreciate the pun there with the carryover.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that's also another thing too, why I'm like, I wish people would like not demonize things like deadlifting because it's like, oh, it's gonna mess up your back. It's like, how are you gonna pick up a toddler? Like that's literally a deadlift.
dude, anything in the gym can mess you up if you do it wrong. That's just how it is. And
Yep.
people, I truly believe people who try to demonize exercises are just trying to get clicks now. That's
Yeah.
just because I know maybe there was that one article with Michael Boyle. He said like spots were bad because he truly believed like it wasn't worth his athlete's time to do squats or something like that. I forgot. But he created this
Hmm.
whole uproar right in the strength and conditioning community. But for him, he was actually like, I don't want my guys to do this movement because I have other things for them to do. I'm like, cool, done
And when you
deal.
look into the whole system, like Mike Boyle's another one of those, like kind of like Aaron Kubal. I'm like, I agree with like 99% of what he says, but it
Yeah.
needs to fit in a certain population.
Yeah. Exactly. Like hockey players. That's all he trains is hockey players. Got it.
And that's
Done
great.
deal.
That's yeah.
That's great. Yeah. But I just truly like, especially when you're like looking at, you're just like, especially when you're like in social media and you're like, you're content creating and you're understanding and you're seeing how like it's all about grabbing attention and inducing reaction and engagement. And some of the best ways is to get knee jerking reactions by saying very contrarian things to the common accepted thought of something like squats will break your feet. Watch for more. Like what? It's like if you bench press, you're gonna pop your eye out like this guy. And it's like what? Like so.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's almost like at the consumer level, like people listening to this who are like, yeah, I totally get that on my feed. You almost have to chase the boring people. You got to like find the dry cut people that are like just putting info out there that don't get the most likes, but you know in the bottom of your heart, you're like, yeah, they're probably right.
Well, because they're doing it for the genuine spread of knowledge and not so much of the
Yeah.
for the popularity, right? So
Yeah.
that's and you could get a sense of people who just generally want to give good knowledge. They're usually older. They're like, I don't give a fuck.
Usually.
I'm gonna give
Usually.
you this information. Do what you will with it.
Exactly.
Like, oh,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah, you got, I mean, to your point before, like, I mean, I know there's always the discussion of gatekeeping and being like, oh, you got to be in the gym for 3 or 5 years in person before you do online. And it's like, honestly, I kind of agree with that. Like, I do think that there needs to be this prerequisite amount of work before you go out there and put your stuff out to the masses. Because I know for me, personal training, shit didn't click until like year 5.
Yeah, well, it benefits you as a person. It benefits you as a professional to actually be in the field before doing another version of it where it actually makes you more hands off. You actually need to rely on that experience, or else you just look like a jackass. It's like a lawyer. right? Or a doctor or a nurse. Like they need in-field experience. And then later, 5, 6, 7, 10 years later, when they're giving online advice, it's coming from real world experience. We're like, oh wow, this guy knows his stuff.
Yeah, it's
Um,
not just I have abs, trust me, bro.
it just trust me, bro. Or like, oh my god, what's the raise now? Like people, who was it? One of my buddies was telling me that there's these ads now for like, what is it, like if you are over the age of 30 and making over $150,000 a year, I'm the trainer for you. And it's like, where is that coming from? Like, I'm like, what?
What?
Like, what is going on here? Like, I don't know. It's just, and you can just tell this person's all about just making the
Yeah.
money. And it's
Because
like,
you can
dude,
guarantee that person's going to be charging you five, six, seven, $800 a month for like
yeah,
nothing special.
yeah. It's just, and it's like these programs that you know for sure that they fucking cookie cutter, and
Oh yeah.
the typical population one none the wiser. Like, oh yeah, 5 days a week training, 3 days of full body, and 2 days of mixed cardio, and da 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 da. And it's like, okay, do they change it? And it's like, no, it's the same thing for 12 weeks. And I'm like, how much you pay for that? $5,000. Why? He's like, because the results are guaranteed. After 90 days, if I don't like it, I can give it back. If you did every single thing of it, right? Oh, I
Exactly.
didn't read that. I didn't
Exactly.
read that. If you miss one set, you negate the agreement. Oh, I didn't know that. Did you follow the meal plan that they gave? Because that's what was required for you, is to follow the meal plan precisely. Oh, well, I can't eat nuts. Well, did you tell him that? Well, I'm not allowed to contact him.
That's the thing that gets me. And I know like I've had like other good coaches on here, like Aram, 4 weeks to the beach. Like we went off on that where it's like communication. You got to be able to talk to people. Like you, if you can't contact your coach, like my clients have unlimited text access. I'm like, I might not get to it within minutes, but you're not going to go longer than a day without a response. Like if you can't even get that, like what are you paying for?
Yeah, communication is key. The one of the key things when clients or even friends of family member they ask for looking for an online coach, see how much they communicate, see how much they want to communicate with you. And I have a few online clients. I'm horrible at getting back to them within a day, but I still get back to them. And when I get back
Yeah,
to them,
but
I have like, all these paragraphs, and I get video
exactly.
emails where I'm like, "Yo, Tamsin, so sorry, my son was killing me the last 2 days." But here I am, and then I make like this 5 minute video addressing all their concerns, and they love it because it's like I took the time, I made a video for them. But like,
Yep.
look for an online coach who has real world experience and talking and or like knows how to communicate with you and generally wants to help you. Like
Yeah,
that's
and
a
I
big
and
thing.
I like that you brought that up because I think it's also a personality and a style thing too, like to match up with somebody. Because if somebody likes the email style, like you just said, like I'll give you everything, you could consume it in one go, and then you got everything you need. You could refer back. That's a style. And then there's my style where it's like little bits here and there, and we keep the
Mm,
conversation flowing. It's like whatever you need based on you is the best formula, whatever that
mm-hmm,
is.
mm-hmm,
And I think a lot of
100%.
people got to raise their standards for what they expect for themselves. It's like you can't just jump into any program and be like, "Oh, this is going to work." It's like have some checklist things of like, I need this," and then go from there.
Oh, dude, yeah, you definitely need to have like a top three of like this is what I expect from a if I'm going to spend money on a program or on a coach, you got to have like your non-negotiables. And that's even for me, dude. I get like we get like maybe 50 to 60 client uh inquiries a month, sometimes 80. And like you probably only qualify half of that because the other half is like, oh, I want X, Y, and Z. It's like, oh, sorry, we don't do that. But I know someone who can help you out. So it's nothing personal. It's just it's business, right? But also it's like
Yep.
you want the best for the client. Maybe there's other coaches out there who will try to sell them on anything, but like but like I'm
Well,
about like
I think that's the real issue is that a lot of people don't understand who they don't serve, and the clients don't understand. Oh, this isn't the right program for me, and then you
yeah,
end up in a mixed. You're a square peg in a circle hole, and you're just
yeah,
like, I don't know why this isn't working.
yeah, that's actually a good one. That's a really good point. Yeah, you got to make sure that whatever program you're starting is specific to your problem. Um, yeah, because that's a big one.
Yeah,
understanding the solution and understanding the problem. They have to fit.
exactly. That awareness level goes a long way. Yep. Now, I appreciate you taking this much time to be on the podcast because I mean, I want to be respectful of your time, but I cannot let you get away without the last question. So,
Okay,
are
cool.
you
Yeah,
are you cool?
fire away.
All right. Well, I actually have two for you, but the one that comes from the most previous guest, because we have a tradition, the most recent guest leaves a question for the next one without knowing who they are. This one comes from Jace Lopez. Do you know Jace? Down in
Uh,
Louisiana?
I don't know. Maybe if I see him.
Okay. I feel like you guys would definitely hit it off. You got the same type of energy. And he asks, what's the legacy or imprint you want to leave on the coaching industry or the fitness industry? I'll expand it.
Oh my God, that's a great question. What is the legacy and blue? What was it? What's the legacy I want to leave on the fitness
Yeah,
industry?
the imprint you want to leave.
About myself or just in general?
We'll go in general.
I think the imprint I want to leave to the industry. I'm stealing Mark Fisher's quote, but it's silly humans, serious fitness.
Love that.
It's basically, be yourself, be serious about what you do, but just be yourself, dude. Just be yourself, and it's okay to be yourself and spread awesome times in strength and conditioning. Like, not every strength and conditioning coach needs to be like this. Like, oh my God, Jesus, that freaking arms cross with a tough attitude looking. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Whatever. But if I'm gonna leave any imprint on this industry, is that any strength coach can be just as professional and awesome, but be also very funny, comedic and silly and empathetic. That's
Yep.
what a strength coach, in my eyes, should be.
And I think that's why stuff like this, like the podcast, where you can actually experience a person for who they are and like see these social media clips and get their personality makes such a big difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, 100% agree.
Yep. And I know I said that was the last one, but I gotta ask you because I know you're into Marvel and I need to know who your favorite Marvel superhero is.
Yo, that's a good one. My favorite is Deadpool. My
Deadpool.
favorite
Okay.
is Deadpool. Up there with Captain America. Captain America, if you want to be like self-respect, like, oh, I love Captain America. Well, that's my old school. That I'm pushing Captain America on my son. Like, you love Captain America, but the degenerate in me loves Deadpool because he's just hilarious. Like like if you read like I read actually the Deadpool like when I was younger, I would read the Deadpool comics like in a comic shop. Like that's what I would go read because it was hilarious. He had this like friend named Bob and Hydra, but like the stuff he would do, he would always break the fourth wall. He was very fucking hilarious. He was always in the most gruesome scenes, and it was just like that guy was like a funny thing. So when the movie came out and Ryan Reynolds played him, I was like, perfect. So I'm trying to find a way to watch Wolverine and Deadpool at opening night because I've never been able to do that now ever since I had a kid. So I'm trying to see if I could just watch it in person and see if we could just have the grandparents watch the kid. Because
Like
that's the
I know
yeah.
that's where you got to play your card and be like, listen, this is one of those times I need a
I need
babysitter.
I need to watch this. I can't wait because the spoilers are gonna ruin it for me. I gotta watch this in person.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I can't wait. That like going to the movie theater now is like one of those things where it's like you really got to sell me before I actually go to the movie
yeah,
theater. And that's
yeah,
one of those where it's like, all right, I you
yeah.
can't
I'm
not.
going. I'm going for that. I'm going for that. So yeah, Deadpool. I have a twerking Deadpool in the gym. Um, some
Nice.
of my like I think my head coach was like, Austin, do we really need, this twerking Deadpool in the gym? It's like weird. And then I looked at dead ass, and I'm like, I'm the owner, but I rarely pull rank. But I looked at him, I said, you don't touch that fucking thing. Like, that stays there. And then even Jesse, who's my assistant manager, he's like, that's actually one of my job descriptions to make sure that doesn't get fucked up. So
That is in the contract. I signed it. I can't.
I'm like, oh, okay, fine. Like, because he's all about like making it look everything look pristine and clean, and I love it. But it's like, no, that stays here. And he's like, all right, fine.
The only non-negotiable.
But yeah, Fergie Deadpool stays, and he's still in the gym as we speak.
That's awesome. Well, if I'm ever out in San Jose, I definitely got to see this twerking Deadpool.
Yes, please come by.
Definitely, definitely. Well, thank you, man. This has been so good. I know a lot of people are going to hear this and they're going to get so many gems out of this and just be like, feel like they're much more in a confident space to be like, okay, if I just do everything we talked about, then everything will be a-okay. So if everybody listening does one thing, just move, just get out and do something.
Dude, motion creates emotion. Don't ever feel intimidated by anyone because remember, everyone shits and piss. So,
Love that. Love that. Now, if anybody is loving what you're putting out there and they're like, I want to see more of Austin, I want to see these posts that Bryant referenced about him, like, where can they find you?
oh, dude, they can find me on Instagram at Coach Toloza, on TikTok, same handle at Coach Toloza. Come out to just check out my gym at HSC Gym, Hyper Conditioning in San Jose, or you can go hscgym.com on our website. But yeah, and if you want to listen, or we have to restart our podcast, but I took a break. But Nerd Out Workout Podcast, Nerd Out and Workout Podcast. We're on all the platforms: Spotify, Apple, iTunes, or shit, not Apple. I'm so old. iHeartRadio. I think we're on there. Google Podcast. But yeah, we're all things Nerd Out and Workout Podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And just so you guys know, you don't have to go searching for it. It's all going to be down in the show notes. That way you do go to the
sweet,
right links. So you'll have all of them down there. Now, as a
excellent.
thank you for Austin coming on, if all I ask for you guys listening is that if you heard that one gem, that one piece that you're like, man, my friend or family member needs to hear that, go send it their way. Send them the podcast. Tell them that Brian and Austin say hi and they'll love you for it. So pay it forward. All right. So until next time, I will see you all, guys. I'll see you all same time, same place. But until then, go kick some ass. See you later.